everyone. Welcome to our June 11th Board of Education meeting. We are going to call the meeting to order. I'm going to ask Mike Catalano to call the roll.
Mr. Benford.
Here.
Ms. Crooked. Jamie, you're here, right? I see you. I can't hear you, Jamie. I see you. You're here. Ms. Hogue.
Here.
Call the meeting to order. I'm going to ask Mike Catalano to call.
Ms. Hogue.
Here. Somebody has the live feed on. Do you want to mute yourselves?
Ms. Kuttner. Ms. Paoli.
Here.
Mr. Vecchio.
Here.
Vice President Seidel.
Here.
President Sangelo.
Here. All right, great. Thank you. Let's rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which I stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Mike, do you mind reading the statement concerning open public meetings?
Public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been given by the Superintendent of Schools in the following manner. On January 10th, 2020, notice of this meeting was posted on the interior of the school administration offices, 1 Lincoln Avenue, Haddonfield. Written notice was submitted and filed with the Haddonfield Borough Clerk, and notices were faxed to the Courier Post and mailed to the Retrospect newspaper.
Great, thanks, Mike. And we're broadcasting live on YouTube, so we have for people who want to tune in and watch. We are going to have a presentation tonight on the it's a biannual HIB summary report, and Ms. Sandra Horowitz is going to give that. So Sandy, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you, and hello, everyone.
Good evening, Sandy.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. All right. This is the superintendent's report for HIB for the second period of the year. As you know, we've been out of school, but we do have a couple of months to report on. The reporting periods run from September 1st to January 1st, and then January 1st to June 30th. And by New Jersey law, the superintendent shall report to the Haddonfield Borough School District Board of Education all acts of harassment, intimidation, or bullying which occurred during the reporting period. These are the names of our HIB anti-bullying specialists. Nothing has changed. They're still in place and doing a great job. This outlines the training that each one of us went through, and each ABS is highly qualified. In order for an allegation to be considered HIB and to undergo a full investigation, the act must have these 4 elements upon initial examination. The act. Go ahead.
For 1 second, I think you're sharing a report, but I don't see the presentation, so I'm thinking you need to share your screen.
I did share it. Does anybody else not see it?
I don't have it up on mine, and the
I can't see it either.
No one can see it.
No one can see it?
no.
No one can see it.
Oh, geez. All right, hold on. How about now?
No.
Well, it certainly worked when we practiced it.
That's always the way, Sandy.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
hold on.
is it,
I must not be clicking something. Hold on.
Sandy, let me show you share my screen.
Okay, hold on. How about now?
No,
Still not?
no.
Here you go, Sandy. Is this, am I sure, my screen showing now?
Yes.
Okay, so I've got it, Sandy. So tell me where you want me to move forward. What slide are we on, Sandy?
I think we lost Sandy. I think she fell out of the meeting.
Let's see if she jumps back in real quick. This was crackerjack up until this moment. We haven't had a glitch, so I'm blaming it all on John. John Miller is our the head of our IT department, and he puts these together for us very well. So thank you, John. I'm just teasing.
Well, Chuck, we can go through this if you'd like. I mean, let's go on
right,
to the next slide. I mean, the key here for the state is to share with the community the HIB. All this is just background, what HIB is. So here's go back to that.
This one, Barry, the number of reports.
Yeah. So this is the second half of the school year. Obviously, the second half of the school year, there's Sandy, but second half of the school year was cut on March 15th. So really, the HIB reporting was really cut back, and that's the number that we've had the second half. So Sandy, if you want to pick up from this slide, I'll let you take it.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we're
Yes.
good.
Okay. All right. So these are the total reports of HIB. Not that we had HIB, the allegations that we received. We received 1 from Haddon, 0 from Central, 3 from Tatum, 1 from the middle school, and 2 from the high school, for a total of 7 reports. The number of reports that were investigated as HIB were 2. And a subsequent slide will explain why the others were not investigated.
Is this the slide you want, Sandy? You have to tell me which slide you're looking for.
Yeah, this is good. All right. So as I said, the total number of reports that were investigated in all of our schools was just 2, and those were at Tatum, and it involved 1 incident. 2 targets were involved, 1 aggressor, and the words that the aggressor spoke committed HIB against the 2 students who we spoke to. So we really had 1 incident of HIB, but 2 targets, and we handled that separately and counted it separately. Okay, next slide. All right, and this will show you the reasons why an allegation was not investigated. So the 1 case at Haddon, the case did not present a distinguishing characteristic, so it failed the threshold for an HIB investigation. The 3 at Tatum, 1 case there was no distinguishing characteristic, and it failed the threshold. And you'll see on the right that there were 2 cases, both involving race, that I just alluded to. The middle school had 1 case, also no distinguishing characteristic present, and the high school had 2 cases. Let me get rid of this.
It says no,
I can't get
substantial
rid of this
disruption.
thing.
Sandy says no substantial disruption.
All right, so can you scroll down a little bit more so I could see it
It says no substantial disruption. I can't scroll down any further.
for both of them?
Yes.
There were two. Okay, so the preliminary assessment indicated that there was no substantial disruption, so those cases were not investigated. Now, next year, we're going to be a little bit more lenient as far as no distinguishing characteristic. We're not going to dismiss allegations on their face without a little bit more investigation. We're going to make sure that there isn't any type of distinguishing characteristic that we just can't see initially, and that maybe after some investigation, one will evolve. So that's one improvement that we're going to be making to our process, because we want to make sure that we're not just dismissing too quickly. Our next slide,
Sandy,
Chuck.
Sandy, let me just ask you a question real quick. You said you're going to be more lenient, but you did not mean you're going to be more lenient. Is that correct? We're actually going to look deeper into these cases, not
Well,
be more.
yeah, we're going to be more lenient as far as just doing a cursory view. We're going to be more lenient with no distinguishing characteristics. So we're not going to say, well, there's no apparent distinguishing characteristic, so we're not going to investigate this. So, we're going to delve more deeply.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So we're going to widen that scope, okay, instead of having a more narrow scope. Okay, so the two cases that we had involved race, and we just had two cases. And fortunately, we did not have any kind of cyber bullying during our remote instruction period. Next slide, Chuck. Okay, this is just another form of showing the same two cases. Next slide. Okay, so whenever we have a case of HIB, or if it doesn't rise to the level of HIB and we have a student conflict situation, there's always some remediation involved, and if appropriate, school discipline. Next slide. These are sampling of the school programs that we have in place. To list them all would take pages, and I'll be referencing that a little later on. Okay, if you remember correctly, or if you remember at all, this is like a reminder that in the 17-18 school year, the New Jersey Department of Education graded us on our ability to improve school climate and curtail HIB. And our district grade was an 82% out of 100. And this chart breaks down what each school's grade was. The principals and the anti-bullying specialists do a self-assessment and submit that self-assessment, and we're graded on it. So we had in the previous school year an 82% grade. Next slide, Chuck. And that was based on this number of programs. District-wide, we had, we didn't have any programs. We had one training. Haddonfield, the high school had 3 trainings, 4 programs. Central, 1 training, 2 programs. The middle school had 2 of each. And Haddon had 1 and 2, and Tatum had 2 and 2. That was in the 17-18 school year. Next slide. And we still got an 82%. Now, for last year, we did significantly better. We went from 82% to 91%. And each school's individual grade also rose. And the reason why, I believe, is because of all the programs and trainings that we had last year. The next slide, Chuck. Okay, district-wide, we had 24 trainings, 16 programs. And that's in addition to each school's program. So the high school had 7 trainings, 20 programs. Central had 24 programs. The middle school, 29 programs. Haddon, 28 programs. And Tatum, 1 training and 24 programs. So the focus on improving school climate really was taken very seriously by the principals, the anti-bullying specialists, and the school climate, school safety teams. And they did an outstanding job in programming and instructional plans. Next slide, Chuck.
So Sandy, well, you're not saying this. That was also your first year coordinating this program. So there's some, there's a lot of kudos to you also. Don't want to miss that, Sand.
Well,
Okay.
we all drove it. I don't want to take I don't want to take, take the credit. The principals did a lot of driving with this, but I was on top of it, and I sort of made sure that this information about all the things that we were doing were submitted into the right databases so that we did get credit for them. So I think that the data indicates that the higher numbers of HIB trainings and specialized programs had the desired effect of reducing the number of reported cases of HIB. The anti-bullying specialist positions and the school safety, school climate teams are crucial to fostering a positive school climate and to help deter HIB occurrences. And each school improved their HIB grades when comparing the 17-18 to 18-19 school years. Next year, when we get our grade, considering that we were out of school for 4 months, that's yet to be seen. But even though we were involved with remote instruction and we didn't have school, there have been programs implemented and actions taken by teachers and administrators in order to improve mental health and climate within each student, so to speak. And I've asked the anti-bullying specialists and the principals to submit that information into the database that we work with. So hopefully we will also get credit for those things. And as I said before, we didn't receive any reports of cyberbullying, which is excellent. Any questions? I'm sorry that this didn't work. I must have practiced it 5 times and it worked. So.
Governor Murphy's Law, Sandy. Thank you.
Okay. And all these documents are posted on our website. Anybody have any questions? Our numbers are very low, and I think we should take some pride in that. You know, with all that's going on in the world, I think we're doing a good job in our corner of it.
Thanks, Sandy.
Okay.
Okay, moving on, we are going to go through our committee meetings. David, curriculum, do you have an update?
Yeah, sure. So curriculum, we met on June 3rd. We discussed fall planning as much as we know it at this point. We kind of reviewed the planning not the plans, because the plans will come once the governor makes an announcement. We then moved on to discussing how to spend the CARES Act, and it's really spread around, specific sanitation, summer learning to catch people up that have fallen behind due to remote instruction, as well as technology improvements to weather the next storm, as well as to just improve methods of delivery that did work for students. So it's kind of a balancing act, and they all fit the spirit of the CARES Act money, but there's going to be some difficult choices there. And then we moved on, since we were discussing about summer learning classes, we discussed the extended school year and summer remediation program that they wanted to put in. And really what they're waiting for is the benchmark C Linkit results, which were probably due tomorrow, right? At the end of the day tomorrow, they'll have a better view on all the Linkit data to be able to then figure out from the teacher availability surveys who would be needed for ESY. And then we reviewed the gifted and talented ideas about how to test over the summer, as well as we wanted to talk about students who actually test out of the program. Since this is a new program, and this was the first year, we had actually a discussion of those that don't continue with the program. So that was an interesting discussion. I think we're going to have to put some things to policy eventually to cover those eventualities. But there's more discussion on that. And then on the research and planning side, we discussed the results of the first survey and their plans for the second survey, as well as results from the first focus group of parents. Lastly, we discussed the results of the math committee that was put together by Dr. Murray to talk about the research from all their grade levels and where we wanted to go with the math curriculum. And then lastly, just we talked about CUSAC work that's still necessary, things that were necessary to get our scores up, and then what does steady state look like so that we don't have a repeat of slippage. And that was an interesting discussion. And then texts, I think you might see some of those on tonight. I'm looking through the schedule to see AP French and French 3, AP Spanish, and ELA, AP English Language Arts composition. So these were textbook recommendations. I don't know if they passed through finance and made it to this agenda. I'm just not sure. But that's my report. Yes.
Dave, did I overlook, were there meeting minutes sent out or not yet?
Meeting minutes are circulated. They're on the website. In our Google Drives.
Okay, so they're posted there. Okay, I always look for the email. Sorry, thanks.
Yeah, no, that's okay. And then, if you want, Dr. Murray, I guess we could just distribute them via email instead of putting them on the Dropbox, or not the Dropbox, the Google Drive, if everybody was okay or wanting to have that.
It just alerts me when they're done.
Sure, fair.
Thanks.
Thanks, David. Any other questions for David? Mike Catalano, I got a question for you. Susan's not here tonight, so I didn't prepare, but and we can come back to it. If we met since our last meeting, can you send me that agenda? In the meantime, we'll have Lynn, if you wouldn't mind giving us a policy update.
Sure. So we did not meet in June. We decided to postpone our policy committee meeting until July with all the end of the year stuff going on right now. Date to be determined. So tonight we have, of course, the second reading of those two policies. One, the mandated construction policy, requiring construction contractor employees who come into contact with students to undergo a background check. And then the grading policy change, changing it from a 7-point scale to a 10-point scale. So we have second reading for both of those tonight. And that's it.
Thanks. Questions for Lynn? Okay, we last met in policy was, I think, it was before our previous meeting, so we gave an update. There's no update in policy, for policy. Jamie, do you have anything you want to add for communications? She's muted. Calling it. No, she doesn't know anything. Tom, anything to update with negotiations?
No, no updates from the last meeting.
Okay. Chuck, your last update as assistant superintendent. This is going to be, it's going to bring you tears because what you're walking into.
I'm going to try to be brilliant with this, so be patient. So a lot's going on. It's a rare world as we're in right now. But one of the challenges is we're trying to close school like it's never been done before, and we're already preparing to think about how we're going to open school in 100 days or whatever it is from here. But the schools are closing, so the promotion ceremonies, the transition ceremonies, the collection of materials, all of those things are going on. A lot of great work by the teachers. I don't know if you're aware, the elementary school, one of the challenges was that in an elementary school desk, half the products, half the materials in there belong to the individual students. So our teachers have actually gone into every desk and have to separate that out and bag it. And what's going to happen is in the early next week, that's all been done. There's going to be a curbside pickup. So the elementary parents are going to come through, pick up the bag of their materials and drop off whatever they had at home. High school's been already in that process. The high school administration, middle school administration have cleaned the lockers, and they cleaned the lockers. They went through and emptied all the lockers. So they know who left their shoes in there and also who left their bags of lunch in there from early March, which was interesting. We've had the promotion ceremonies for Tatum was yesterday, for Central was right before our board meeting tonight, and Lizzie's next week. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday this week, if you drove by the high school, you saw people in caps and gowns as they did the virtual. They were started filming the virtual graduation. Speeches are Monday. They'll be filmed, so they'll be ready to go. And the gift drop-offs are planned for the 18th and 19th for middle school and high school. And drive-bys and those type of things for the elementary schools happen. I have to tell you, when you look at the amount of effort and work that went in from the teachers to get those classrooms ready, to clean up, to close school, but more so from really a shout out to the principals and administrative teams. An incredible amount of work when you think about what had to go in to get those classrooms clean, to get the lockers cleaned out. I mean, literally, the high school's got 800 lockers. And the high school administrative team went through each one and separated them out. The 3 days of filming at the high school, the planning of getting it around. The high school trip to drop off boxes will be 5.5 hours. It's a 5.5 hour journey to get to all 208 houses. Middle school has 225 houses. They don't have their journey plotted out yet, but it'll be the same. So I think it's a real testament to in addition to doing everything else they do in a normal closure of school year, that the administration were able to get together and pull this off. Really, it was a remarkable feat, and they really need to be saluted for that. And now opening, because now we're already talking about opening and planning opening. As David alluded to earlier, we don't have plans in place. We have plans to make plans, which sounds frustrating. But the governor is going to release school opening information for the summer on Monday, we believe. There's a lot of factors in this about what it may look like. We have Plan A. Plan A is we open the school doors and 2,700 kids come back and 250 staff members and life goes on as normal. We're not counting necessarily in Plan A. We know we'll have to do some differences. But that's where our action teams come into play. And the board members, the administration, the HEA, we shared out a document I created that defines really 6 teams. We have a steering committee who's going to oversee an umbrella for this. And we have 5 action teams. One's a coordination and communication, an instructional and programming committee, an SEL action team, operations and resources action team, and a health and wellness action team. And what we've done is we've tried to compartmentalize as many of these factors as we can. If you try to take it all and think about the whole program, you simply can't do it. You need to really separate it out and find people to focus on their areas. And so over the next Wednesday, the steering committee is meeting for the first time. After that, we'll direct each action team chair to start moving and finding community members to help us out, HEA members to help us out. and we'll start putting programs in place. A lot will be told, as I said, on Monday. It was in a county superintendent meeting yesterday, and it was interesting in that the orders given, the general executive orders given about having more people available in a space or more people out and indoors does not apply to schools. Schools are closed. Kids can't come to school. Even if you can gather 10 people in a space or whatever, that does not necessarily apply to schools with the exception of graduations in July. So it's a bizarre thing, but that's as it was explained to us. So any questions about the opening, other than we're ready to move forward with trying to plan as best we can?
Hey, Chuck, it's Heather. I actually had a
Yeah.
question about graduation, and I appreciate the update. Thanks. I only know what I quickly glanced in the high school e-blast. Possibly I missed something, but is the graduation 100% virtual is my first question. And fine if it is, just want to know. But second question is, are the board members, we normally participate, and I just want to make sure I'm not going to let someone down because I'm not aware of what I'm supposed to be doing. Are we doing anything this year or no?
The June 19th graduation, 18th, excuse me, is virtual. July 23rd, we have scheduled an in-person graduation. I think the number's up to 500 people now. So the board will be invited to that graduation. So there's the 19th is numbers so slow. It's online, it's virtual, but there's a 23rd of July graduation you'll be participating in.
Okay, and I'm sure I'm stating the obvious, but if there's any limits on the population and that makes it difficult for students' families to attend, just let us know what you think. I'm sure we would all happily step back to allow family members to attend if that impacts it.
Thank you. That's very kind. Any other questions about those? Okay. As David also spoke about, we have summer remediation planning we're looking at. Monday or Tuesday of next week, we'll get together and analyze the benchmarking we've done. Colleen's going to take the lead in that. That's a very complex situation, as you could imagine, because we, as much as we'd like to think we did a perfect job, we know we didn't, and we can certainly expect at least a little bit of, I wouldn't call it slide, but not reaching where we're supposed to be, where we would normally reach. And so we have to evaluate who's going to be able to, how we're going to determine summer remediation, what's that's going to look like. And then as was pointed out, look at the CARES money to try to support that program. Been working with the Zone PTA and ancillary with Adam and Polly a little bit at the town calendar. We're going to try to make this work. It's going to be challenging, but in any form, it'll be a digital version of the calendar. Given the lateness of the date, and given the fact that our world in September is going to be changing very quickly, the town calendar will probably be best suited by a digital version of the calendar. So that's our plan moving forward. I'll keep you updated on that. You are approving tonight Dr. Carmen Henderson as our new Director of Special Education. She's Dr. Henderson is an LD for us currently in the district. She's had 1 year in Haddonfield. We had 52 candidates apply for the position. Gino and I met with 20 interviews as a first round panel. We brought 5 finalists onto a panel round. That panel included administrators, child study team members, parent. We had a really good conversation about the finalists, and I'm really thrilled to announce that Dr. Henderson is going to be joining the central administrative team. Gino, you're on. You worked closely with Dr. Henderson. Anything you'd like to say about the quality of her work and her person?
Dr. Henderson is one of those people that she is normally the smartest person in the room. She is someone who has been a pleasure to work with, a fierce advocate for students, and has a laser-like focus on doing quality work on behalf of her families and the students she serves. So I don't know how many of you follow the Child Study Team Twitter account, but this gives you a little glimpse inside a little window into what kind of educator Carmen is. So last week, I think it was Monday, her power went out in her house, and it could have been very reasonable for her to give me a call and say, hey, Gino, I can't take care of my meetings. We need to reschedule. Of course, I understand. We'll take care of it. Instead of doing that, she drove to a nearby park, picked up a public Wi-Fi signal, and plugged her laptop into the back of her truck. Her husband set up a little tent for her and went about her day's business. And that just gives you a little sense of who Carmen is and her level of dedication. And I'm really, really thrilled and proud for this accomplishment. Looking forward to working with her. And I know the Child Study team is thrilled to see her move up into this position.
Thanks, Gino. We were all excited to having Dr. Henderson join us in that role. And finally, I would be remiss if I didn't take, I'm going to make it a moment because I know he'll get very angry at this, a moment to thank Larry, Dr. Mussolini, for the last 2 years of guidance, of mentoring. As a person who honestly was considering retiring while as a high school principal, Dr. Mussolini's energy, his desire to drive change and make the school system better and turn education better really gave me a refreshed, a new outlook on school systems, my job, and potential. I'm honored that he found the confidence in me to move me in assistant superintendent's position, and then in the superintendent's position with recommendation. And I couldn't thank him enough. So Larry, thank you very much. I'll be calling you. You'll be on the golf course. Your phone will ring, and I'll be asking you for advice. So just be ready for them.
Enough's enough, Chuck. Thank you. Thank you very much. I truly appreciate it. I think the board has a great leadership team in you and Gino.
All right. And that's my report for tonight.
Thanks, Chuck. Larry, do you have anything you want?
Yeah, just to thank all of you. Wish Chuck and Gino only the best of luck. The entire team, and by the entire team, I mean the administrative team and the teacher team. It's a great district. It's a wonderful place to live and learn. And I know I was very proud to be a very small, tiny part of Haddonfield's history. So thank you to the board, and thank you to the community for putting up with me. I know it was a huge task to do so, but I've certainly enjoyed it, and wish only all of you the very best. I do want to echo the great work of our teachers and principals one last time. Chuck said it more eloquently than I, but changing an organizational system on a dime, which is what happened all across the United States, not just at Haddonfield, all over the, maybe all over the world, actually, in truth, was nothing to sneeze at, not something simple. Some systems performed much better than other systems, and that's across the world. Some people didn't know what to do. Some people did this and did that and struggled for weeks on end until they finally, a month later, decided, well, maybe we should teach the kids normally. And we did not do that. And it's a tribute to our teachers, it's a tribute to our principal, it's a tribute to you guys on the board. We'll see how it works out. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful with our parents who are highly intelligent and work diligently with our students. Hopeful for our teachers. So I'm really looking forward to gauging the progress to see how we did, because we know other schools, LA United being on the top of the list, since it's in every publication from the New York Times to the Washington Post, has called this a disaster, with 30% of their children not showing up for class online, and the other 70%, there was so much variability with teachers. So in some systems, LA, the only reason we're saying LA is because they're calling themselves out. Their research was done, and they're saying It was a horrendous flop. We'll see how bad. It's certainly not the greatest, but we'll see how bad it is. So anyway, thank you. Good luck to all of you.
So where are you playing golf, Larry?
Yes. Soon, Sandy.
Yeah, where are you headed?
Now we're just going to look at starting the fourth quarter this time and staying with the fourth quarter and not getting back into the work world. So that's it. That's all we have planned.
Thanks, Larry. Thank you for your time here. It has been you put us in a good spot for the future, and we appreciate it. The only updates I have an update on the land swap. Believe it or not, we actually had someone. I know we haven't talked about it in a while because we've been waiting on the borough, but they're waiting for an easement on Lulworth Hall, and they have that easement with the State Historic Preservation. I don't even know this group.
SHPO.
SHPO. What's the O stand for?
Office.
Okay.
State Historic Preservation Office.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what we're waiting for. Then apparently we'll be able to finalize and then start to look at what we can do with those properties. The other thing I wanted to mention was that we are holding a community evening. We're being the board has been contacted and our administration has been contacted by alumni and parents and current students, former students, parents, and community members, really looking to us for leadership in what's happening in the world around the murder of George Floyd and the response and the change that looks like it's happening nationally and globally. And we put out an early communication to help parents talk to their kids, give them some resources to talk to students from the K through 12 spectrum. But there's a call to lead here, and I think what we wrote to fill the board in, what we wrote to some of the people that have contacted us or spoken to them on the phone is. That we've done some work. We took this on as a goal in 2018 in response to some need to focus on racism and events that had happened in the school. So we had hired Shelley Zion from Rowan University to be a consultant. So we started integrating, changing our curriculum, integrating conversations about equity into our classrooms. So there's been some movement in the past, but now we're going to have so where we are now is we're going to have a meeting on June 29th, and we don't have the details yet. All we know is that we're going to have we're rushing to put it together. We're going to have our consultant Shelley Zion there. We're going to have building leaders there, district leaders there, and we're going to just talk about where we are, what we've done, and what we need to do going forward. We want the community to come. This is not a meeting. This is not an internal meeting. This is an open meeting. We encourage people who are motivated and passionate and want to start to see change and change continue. We want to see there. We plan on having a meeting in person with as many people as we are allowed to have under the guidelines, whatever they are, for June 29th. And then we'll also do some format like this via YouTube where we'll have the meeting broadcast, but also have it opened up to comments. Maybe we'll have some sort of call in and text in with comments and questions because we definitely want that feedback. So it was cultural competency was one of the three major goals set by the community-led strategic plan. So we've already been, this conversation is going to fit a demand that's already exists. So I'm hoping for a good turnout and we hope to learn a lot and be able to move forward in a strong way. So that is my update. Before we open it to public comments, anyone have a question for me about that meeting or anything? Okay, and then, with the broadcast board meetings, we have our public comment sections combined. So now we'll ask John to flip the screen for the phone number to call into meetings. I'll remind you a couple of things. Dial the number. John will put you into the meeting, and if you could turn the volume down at home, so we don't get feedback, and you can make a comment. Also, these comments, because of our virtual nature of these meetings, are going to be a combination of both comments on agenda or non-agenda items. I would only ask that if you identify your name, just your street, you don't have to give your address, and whether it's an agenda topic or something off the agenda, and just a comment. Okay, so the phone number is up. We'll probably have a couple of seconds delay if anyone wants to call in. It seems like there are about 30 people watching, so make it a call or two, and John will alert me.
Can I check real quick? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You have a lot of feedback. Your volume is up on your computer when you end your phone.
All right. So when I
Okay, we have a caller. We have a caller in. Did you just ending in 25 the phone number? So you're muted right now, caller 25. So if you unmute yourself, we'll be able to hear you. You're still muted. John, are we able to unmute that, or is that?
The callers have to unmute themselves with *6.
Okay. If you've called in with a telephone number ending in 25, press *6.
I'm not sure if that worked or not. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now. This is a caller. Your last digit is 67, and so I can hear you now.
Yes. Yes. Okay, great.
We just need your name and street.
Yeah.
Sure. My name is Lindsay Watson McCarthy. I am on Windsor Avenue in Haddonfield.
Okay, Lindsay, it's your turn to speak. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Well, first, I just want to say thank you all so much for all of your hard work and your creativity in allowing us to participate in this conversation and still be, know what's going on and what conversations are taking place. And I know with everyone homeschooling, it's not easy. So I just want to first say thank you. I know that we don't necessarily have a plan for the fall. My children will be at Tatum Elementary this fall, and I know that there are conversations happening throughout town where parents are wondering, in the event we open, is included in any part of the plan? Is there anything that still gives parents who might not feel comfortable physically sending their kids to school the ability to continue remote learning? Is that included as part of the conversation?
Chuck, do you have anything you heard from the meeting?
This is certainly under discussion. So we have a lot of variables to look at, and this is one of the ones we are bringing up. The state and the county are encouraging much flexibility as possible.
Okay.
But that would present certain challenges that and once again, that's one of the questions we're looking at, is the best I can give you right now. And that's not a great answer, but it certainly is one of the things we are considering, that's a possibility. There will be parents who will want to keep their children home. We still have to educate those children, and just the best way to do that has to be determined.
Sure. I appreciate that very much. That's the only question I had.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello?
Hi.
Hello?
Hi.
Can I speak now? Is that all right?
Hey, Adam, you're on
Adam-
mute. I can see you
Adam, you're
talking,
muted.
but yeah, you're muted.
No wonder no one's listening to me. Yes. Not the phone number ending in 25. Go ahead. It's your turn. Just state your name and the street you live on.
Hi. Yes, my name is Kathleen Esposito. I am the mother of 4 sons, 2 of which are attending Tatum right now. We live on Windsor Avenue. I just, I try to frequent this stuff as much as I can, but this is the first real time that I felt kind of compelled to step in and chat. I'm just wanted to relay my concerns concerning the personnel approval for the director of special education. My son, I have 2 sons, one of which is not classified and one that is, has been a part of the school district as soon as they would let us in. He, at the age of 2, was diagnosed with a neurological condition, and we were out of district. And when we asked any of the experts that we consulted with, we said, hey, what school district would you go to? And without hesitation, every single one of them, and weren't in the area, said Haddonfield. They said, but so-and-so's okay. But if money's no issue, Haddonfield is the place. And so I felt very compelled and convinced. And upon my contact with Bonnie Rubin Sugarman, she put me at such great ease that I knew that we were making the right selection. And I agree to this day that we have made an absolute wonderful decision. The teaching, the administration has been nothing but above average in every level. Why I'm calling you today is my concern for Dr. Henderson. And while I know her expertise and her resume speak volumes, I just would be remiss as a parent if I just didn't relay this one concern. On March, my son had one of his annual reviews, and in speaking with her, the plan was to move certain individuals out of the inclusive classroom setting into another setting that, while beneficial to students, didn't mimic or the philosophy of the inclusive classroom. And why I say that is so important is my son is literally the thumbnail on the YouTube video that was produced by the NJCIE. My son's the only child, Andrew, and I'll say his name because you can just watch it, that is called by name in there. My son is a product of the inclusive classroom, and he's a success story as far as I can see. My son receives a lot of services, and we've had the good fortune where my son's actually attended every single elementary school in the district. We moved into the Tatum district, and Tatum was full. So we were in Lizzie Haddon and had a wonderful experience there. My son went to Central as part of the ECLC program as the beginning of his day, and then went to Tatum in the afternoon for kindergarten. So what I am just concerned with as a parent of a child that's extremely invested in a huge proponent of Haddonfield special education is that the philosophy may get turned in a different direction. We've never had an issue such as this. And, I was just concerned particularly that I felt like this was a rush decision. I know, the vetting process seemed, pretty intense with 52 candidates, 20 interviews, and then 5 people that reached the panel round. My concern lies that there was only one parent that was able to offer their input in the selection of the candidate, while I had the good fortune to be on the selection committee for the principal at Tatum when Ms. Klein came in, and there was at least 5 to 7 parents on that selection committee. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank the special education department for, I guess, essentially spoiling me, and just relate to the board that I'm just concerned moving forward that the philosophies that have been so embedded and in the cornerstone of a Haddonfield education might go in a different direction. And I just think we were a little quick to judge and quick to choose, considering the pandemic and considering everything going on, to select someone based on, just the ease of the selection rather than doing the proper vetting of the individual with, the parents in mind, as we are such an integral and included part of the IEP process. So thank you guys for your time. And I obviously yield back to the floor for any comments that you have.
Muted, Adam.
Kathleen, sorry, I was muted. Thank you for your comments. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Gino to reach out to you and go over the process so that you can understand it better and talk to him about what the future is. So I appreciate the call, and we'll have Gino follow up with you. So thank you. Okay. We have 26 phone number ending in 26. It's your turn.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Hi, my name is Will Potts. Live on East Cottage Avenue. I'm a parent of 3 students in the district. Want to thank the board for finding a way to engage the community, even through this virtual platform, et cetera. Just really appreciate that part. And as Mr. Klaus noted, I think these are really challenging times. As we are looking to reopen within the guidelines of the state and in regard to the pandemic, I think the one thing I would like to ask that the board to consider as we look at these challenges is to make sure to find ways to gain input from the parents on what's the best way and try and address their concerns halfway. I know there's a lot of planning and a lot of it is dictated by what happens from the state level. But, one of the strengths of Haddonfield has been the community and the parent input and the willingness of the board and the school district to work with the parents. And I would just like to ask that the board be creative in making sure that we get input from the parents. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Bill. That should not be a problem.
There's plans to have parents on each action team, and the communication team is all about getting feedback from parents and relying information to parents. So we have a whole group of people just focused on that.
Great. Thank you, Bill. Thanks, Chuck. Phone number ending in 99. It's your turn.
Hi. My name is Kim Tran. I'm on Princeton Avenue. I just had a question. I know there's been a lot of talk and there's a lot of planning that has to go into before we start the new school year in fall if we end up going back into the building of the school. But I just wanted to kind of bring up something that affected us personally during the storm that we just recently had. So in planning with all of this, I'm not sure if there's also a separate planning committee for disasters as well, because we went without electricity for a few days, like many people in Haddonfield did, but we also went without internet for about a week. So we were very behind on schooling and we had a lot of catching up to do. And with 3 kids in the district, it proved to be very difficult for 2 parents who were working also full time. So it's really just a general comment of something that maybe that just isn't always brought up, because we all kind of have access, for the most part, most of us have access to internet, but that week without internet was really rough in this household just because we had a lot to do with online schooling.
Absolutely. Yeah. What a combination of bad situation. Yeah, we should look at that. I think we should look at some kind of solutions if we ever find ourselves in that kind of situation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, that was the last call. So thank you, Kim. Okay, we're going to move forward and go through the agenda now. Okay, so items for approval. We're going to tear through this. We'll start with 10, governance. We are approving our fire and security drill reports for March of 2020. And we are approving a job description for the school district curriculum facilitator. And we're approving regulation 2624 and policy 2624, which is the change to the grading system that we've talked about for the last few months. And the policy 7243 regarding supervision of construction for the project this summer. With projects this summer. Can we get a motion say your name when you motion so Mike can know who it is.
This is Lynn. I'll move.
David,
Linda.
I'll second. Sorry, Linda. You take it, Linda.
Linda, second.
Linda. Okay, any discussion around number 10? All right. Not hearing any Mike, can you call?
Ms. Hogartle,
Yes.
Mr. Bedford,
Yes.
Vice President Seidel,
Yes.
Mr. Vecchio,
Yes.
Ms. Crooked,
Yes.
Ms. Hoag,
Yes.
Ms. Paoli,
Yes.
President Sangelo.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Now we have the curriculum and education. We're approving field trips, conferences, travel, and overnight field trips. A resolution between project lead and the Board of Education for a 3-day training, approving Tatum special education teacher to provide supplementing reading services. We are resolving between the Haddonfield and our Board of Education and the Gloucester County Special Services to provide contracted services should we need it next year. We're doing 2 settlements for 2 students with no monetary costs associated. We're resolving between Haddonfield and the Gloucester County Services to provide for teaching for the deaf for 2 students. We are approving ESEA and ESSA consortium application. We're approving the service agreement between Haddonfield and the McKinney-Vento Homeless Education Project. We're also approving the school year updated tutor list. Can I get a motion on 11, A through I?
David moves.
Justin, second.
David and Justin, thank you. Any discussion? Any questions? All right, Mike.
Bedford,
Yes.
Vice President Seidel,
Yes.
Mr. Vecchio,
Yes.
Ms. Crooked,
Yes.
Ms. Hoag,
Yes.
Ms. Paoli,
Yes.
Ms. Hogartle,
Yes.
President Sangelo.
Yes. Okay, 12 personnel or 12 personnel. So we're approving new personnel transfers, upgrades, mentioned extracurricular. There's an attachment. We're approving the superintendent to award contracts to employees over the summer and do all the necessary, authorize all the necessary paperwork and approvals to get them in district. We are approving Steve Sproul to work part-time in our technology department. We're approving the Camden County Business Administrator, Brian Falkowski, as the interim until Mike gets his certification, which should be very shortly after the end of the month. We're going to have approving 3 counselors to work over the summer at their per diem rate for issues that may arise. We're approving a plethora of teachers to teach our summer school ESY program. We are approving the contract for Charles Klaus to be our superintendent effective July 1st. We're approving Gino Priolo to be our assistant superintendent effective July 1st. We're Mr. Klaus is going to have a 3-year contract. As assistant superintendent is always a 1-year contract by statute. We're approving 35 days of counseling at the per diem rate for our high school counselors, and we're approving Jeff Holman to do the master schedule work. We are approving business. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the end of number 12 for the personnel approvals. Can we get a motion?
Motion, Linda.
Second, Lynn.
Thank God. Can we have any discussion or questions?
I have a quick question. So there are a bunch of teachers that we're approving for the ESY program. We don't have details yet. It's just that we're approving that those teachers will be available and will work up to X amount of hours. Is that correct?
No, Gino's with us. We do have details. Gino?
Yes, we do have details in that will be a remote program that will run 4 days a week for 2.5 hours per day. Students will be receiving 90 minutes of live instruction daily. The remaining 90 minutes will be used for individualized and small group instruction. Our related service team is fully on board. Students will be receiving all of their related services in addition to their time in the ESY program. And we are also working on special protocols for our preschool students on the autism spectrum to deliver their intensive trial teaching program. So we're full steam ahead and set to go.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Gino. Any other discussion questions about 12 personnel?
It's Justin on 12A. I mean, I'll just say the parent that spoke before. I thought it was such a well-spoken, passionate and relatable, I'm sure, statement, to many parents. And I'll say, just on the whole, I mean, it strikes me that it really is a net gain for the district. I mean, not only do we have the benefit of, keeping Gino in his higher role, but we get to bring in somebody else with the experience. So, I know Gino's going to be reaching out to that parent, but just want to say, I'm hopeful and I have all the confidence in the world.
Thanks, Justin. Yeah. It's nice having Gino in to help with the transition. Absolutely, it puts us in a better position than if we were replacing without Gino in. Thanks, Justin. Good to point that out. Anything else? Okay, Mike.
Vice President Seidel.
Yes.
Mr. Vecchio.
Yes.
Ms. Crockett.
Yeah.
Ms. Hoag.
Yes.
Ms. Paoli.
Yes.
Ms. Hogartle.
Yes.
Mr. Benford.
Yes.
President Sangillo.
Yes. Okay.
Why the weird voice again? I see people laughing. No?
No, what happened?
Oh, I thought I had it again. Sorry.
Not to me anyway. Mike, you and I feel like something happened behind the scenes.
Yeah.
All right, number 13, approval of the following business and finance recommendations. Capehart and Scatcher to continue as solicitor, Wellens, Goldman, and Spitzer to serve as bond counsel, and Verso and Stewart to serve as the auditor. Camden County Educational Services Commission to provide our PL 192 and 193 services. We're participating in the Camden County Cooperative Pricing System, approving Omni Financial Group to be our 403B administrator, ESS Northeast to provide substitute staffing services, NW Financial Group to be the district financial advisor, approving the district indoor air quality plan. We're participating in the Somerset County Cooperative Pricing System as well. We are appointing Brown & Brown as our benefits advisor, and we'll continue to participate in the Public Employer Trust for the 2021 school year. We're approving approving to report awarded contracts pursuant to the PL 215, which is our requirement. We're approving to authorize the superintendent and school business administrator to pay bills during the summer. We're authorizing the school business administrator to close out the petty cash account. We are establishing a bid threshold of $44,000 pursuant to the regulations. We're approving the transfer in the current year from surplus to reserves into capital reserve and maintenance reserve. We're approving the schedule of fees. We're approving to participate in cooperative transportation services with the Gloucester County Special Services School District. Approving to accept the donation of a tree, several bushes, and a commemorative plaque from the Tatum PTA. Thank you, Tatum PTA. It's their 5th grade legacy gift. We're approving to award bid to the Haddonfield Memorial High School Sea Wing air handling unit to the Levy Construction Company. Their base bid was $1,077,000. We are approving to solicit requests for proposals for special inspection services for the air handling unit. We are approving to pay the payment of our bills. Can we get a motion?
Motion, Linda.
I'll second. It's Lynn.
Good. Thank you. Do we have discussion? Any questions?
Just pointing out that transfers into reserves. We sure could use it now, but we understand the process because there's going to be a lot of changes that are going to come because of the current pandemic, and in the future, we'll be needing to make permanent adjustments to the physical plan of our buildings to support the health and safety of our students. It's just a shame that because of the process in New Jersey, we actually can't use that money now. So I'm glad to see that we're putting them in both capital and maintenance because both are going to be heavy line items for not the foreseeable future. They're going to be heavy line items going forward.
Thanks, David. Any other comments, questions on 13 business and finance recommendations? Okay, Mike.
Mr. Vecchio.
Yes.
Ms. Crooked.
Yeah.
Ms. Hoag.
Yes.
Ms. Paoli.
Yes.
Ms. Hogartle.
Yes.
Mr. Benford.
Yes.
Vice President Seidel.
Yes.
President Sandrillo.
Yes. All right, we're going 14 is the approval of the meeting minutes, regular meeting and executive session from May 21st and regular meeting and executive session from May 28th. Any motion?
So moved. Heather.
Heather moves.
Second, Lynn.
Lynn's our seconder of the night. Any updates, changes, needs for minutes work? Okay, Mike, call it.
Ms. Crooked.
Yeah. Sorry.
Ms.
Yeah.
Hoag.
Yes.
Ms. Paoli.
Yes.
Ms. Hogartle.
Yes.
Mr. Benford.
Yes.
Vice President Seidel.
Yes.
Mr. Vecchio.
Yes.
President Sandrillo.
Yes. All right, we have a couple of, we have some training session up, links to some scheduling for some training sessions in the agenda, and then I will ask if the board has any items for future consideration, or administration. Anyone have anything to contribute?
Just Adam, just to tie up it's not a loose end, but obviously we changed our grading structure for our secondary program this evening. We've made it official that starting next year in middle and in high school, we'll be using a 10-point system. So our high school and middle school administrators and counselors are all aware. We'll be starting the process to get that into handbooks and the myriad of places that we have to get it into, our school profile. And, for anybody graduating, it would be a bit of a phase in. For, of course, middle school children, it's just certainly a new system. But huge thing that you did. Congratulations. I think it was the best thing for students.
Hey, Pat.
Shoot, go ahead, Heather.
I'm so sorry. Finish your comment on that. I have a different topic. Sorry.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, yeah, I mean, we've talked about it at least 3 meetings just in depth, but yeah, thanks for pointing it out, Larry. And I guess the only question I got is from, maybe one person it's worth repeating because it's, we're memorializing this in the meeting, is it's going to be transitioned without harm. So the counselors are going to work on each individual student's transcript as they, because the students in the system, as we make this change, so that it will be harm, there will be no harm, and it actually it will put our, as we observed from the data, it'll put our students in a better position to compete nationally for spots in university.
That's a great way to say it, Adam. It certainly is without any harm. This occurs all the time. I did see a very good question come in from a resident, and the question was, do we need a grading system? I thought it was a wonderful question, and I think it's this pops the lid to a whole lot of issues that all public schools, not just Haddonfield, but all schools face in grading and assessing children. So really a good start, and not that Chuck needs one more thing to do, but something on the to-do list would be to pick out some of the other things that we discussed in committee with the project team and begin to peel that onion back.
Oh, great. Very much so.
Hey, Larry, to follow up on that, this wasn't my question, but the way I read that email that came in, though, it wasn't questioning, unless I'm, have to go back over it again, but it wasn't questioning whether we need a grading system. It was more whether we need letter grades if we already have numeric grades, correct?
Oh, okay.
Right, or did I misread it?
That was a different email.
Okay.
But there was one, Heather, I agree, there was one that had that question.
Okay. I'll go back and look for the one Larry was referring to.
Yeah, and that's that's also an interesting question. I mean, you're right. All you're doing is transcribing the number to a letter. So you're kind of meshing the old with a number, with a numeric, in better data, and now obviously then taking it one more step and weighting that GPA. So yeah, there's a lot of antiquity involved in grading systems, and that's a good point, Heather. It's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, since we're on it, Lynn, you might be able to speak to it. I was shocked at how many schools don't use any kind of, don't use a conventional grading system at all.
Yeah.
The percentage was high. I thought it was, am I wrong? For the top schools in the country, it was up around, wasn't it in the 20% range?
Well, you're into this this concept of competency-based education or mastery education. It's nothing new. Mastery education was probably from the progressives in the 1920s. It's just never been able to take hold. A mastery concept, a competency-based concept, would be that. And Lynn, I know we had a discussion about med school. Maybe it's not all med schools, but certain med schools, maybe a lot of them. I don't know. But I definitely know there are med schools, including med schools that are very good in our region, the Philadelphia region, and their system of grading is a competency based. Either you know it or you don't. You don't get like a C in surgery. And I'm making, obviously I don't know, but obviously if you're studying a system in the body, they don't want their doctors graduating with a C or D. So what's the minimum competency? And maybe from there's a scale, but you have got to hit a minimum, which is, by the way, pretty high. and then from there, you could excel beyond it. So if you take that concept and put it to K-12 education, it's a fascinating concept. It's basically everybody has got to achieve the standard. If you achieve the standard, that's it. it's done. So you could mesh those systems at them and say, by achieving the standard, you got an A. Okay, done. That's what a lot of those top schools on that U.S. News and World Report list do. You achieve the standard. We're guaranteeing it as a school district. Here you go, Mr. College. Here's the student.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of those were some of the smaller private schools or the technical schools or that gave did away with the traditional grading systems altogether. Most of the public schools still had them from the ones that I looked at, but it was more of these little boutique-y schools that changed the system.
Doing away with the grades allows you to, like, when you meet that standard, then you excel. Like, it's a lot of like innate enrichment because you just keep going. But it's kind of that idea that those kids that aren't making the standard, they'll eventually get there. It's just they might take longer. They might do it might look a different way. And when you're talking about the smaller schools, it probably is easier to implement initially. But the idea, I think, is great. I mean, getting everyone to the standard and then going beyond that to wherever they can go.
Yeah, and Jamie, the one system that I always liked, and I think I mentioned it in committee, there's a school out in Colorado, and there might be a few of them. They blend, the old with the new, so they go A, B, C, not yet. That's their grading system. A, B, C, not yet. So we're not going to D or you can't fail here. It's just that you reach the standard to what we considered a minimum average. So you have to hit that. You can't go forward unless you hit that. And then from there, you could reach for the brass ring and try to get an excellent, a way above average, which would be an A in that system. A, B, C, not yet. I always liked that system. I can't tell you I was able to implement it any place I've been, but I've always liked the system.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
So, Adam, my other question, not related to the topic. I'm just curious with the subcommittees that we are doing for the reopening of the school. I don't know if Chuck or Larry are able to talk to this. Will we be meeting for our initial meeting before July 4th? It's just, I'm assuming we're going to get information soon about our first meeting date because.
Yes, to that point, Heather, the steering committee is going to be meeting on Wednesday next week with all the action team chairs. And at that point, we're going to discuss the vision for the program, what we processes and those type of things. And then the meeting for each action team will follow shortly thereafter. So it's the end of next week, the beginning of the week after that.
Yeah, we delayed it to wait to hear what the governor says on the
15th. The governor's going to make another announcement on schools.
15th, yeah. So we wanted to have that meeting after the 15th. Heather, you did receive did you receive the email with the game plan?
Yes, I did, but I didn't notice any dates in there for our next meeting. That's why I just wanted to know when that was going to kick off.
Yeah, and the governor is going to say the plans will be either A, B, C, D, E, F, or G, and I'll tell you in a month and a half. So we're going to get, hopefully, the more guidance we can get, the better, because we'll have to do fewer variations. Because but anyway.
And we, the administrative team, when I say we've been, and Chuck probably on the top of the list, have been losing sleep over this for a few weeks now, because we're watching what other states have done. My former home state in Pennsylvania listed guidelines. Honestly, I thought they were horrendous. The only thing they said was you have to be socially distant 6 feet. So that means that maybe 9, maybe 10 kids can fit in a classroom. That's it. So from there, they said to the local school district, you figure it out. So they basically gave them a few parameters. Like, everybody's got to be socially distant. I think maybe the adults have to wear masks. I don't know that the kids do. I don't know that they actually said that. Up to you. if Governor Murphy in New Jersey does the same thing and all the other governors follow suit, you're going to have 600 districts doing 600 different things. And I think it's going to be a fiasco, to be very honest with you. Haddon Township will be doing something, then Haddon Heights, something different than Haddonfield, something different than Collingswood, something different than Cherry Hill, because you can. So, I mean, right now it's an absolute mess, but hopefully it will come into focus as the summer wanes and we get better direction, because we certainly need epidemiological direction. It's great to have a governor that might have been a finance guy, or in Pennsylvania, the governor was an MIT grad, an engineer. Great to have those people, but are they epidemiologists? Because the whole idea of opening school is about opening school in the midst of a fairly, dangerous pandemic. So how do we protect children? And then how do we protect the adults in the system? And how do we protect the parents of the children in the system? And then what do we do when the first case occurs at Lizzie Haddon Elementary School? When we get a message on October the 30th that we have 2 kids with COVID-19, now what? So I'm going to tell you what the guidelines say. Well, you close school for 14 or 30 days. Seriously? So you can see the fact that we could be opening and closing schools site by site. I mean, it's really going to be taxing, I think.
Well, I'll tell you what I think. Larry has been very stringent with his instructions to me not to make a big deal out of his departure. So we didn't do the fireworks and the fanfare. But I will say this: this community has been extraordinarily well served over the last 2 years, and it's been more than 2 years because you jumped in early because we were without a leader. So I don't know, everyone's muted and we're clapping, but extraordinarily well served. Larry worked harder than really anyone I've ever seen. I joked with Larry today because I called him and I said, "Are you still going to pick up the phone come July 1st?" And he laughed. Of course. I called him. I don't think I could count on one hand a time where I called his phone and he didn't answer and say, "What's happening? What do you need?" Responded to emails immediately. It was thoughtful and thorough and experienced. And we just, as a district, as a community, we were very well served. And it's important that we say that to Larry and we say that to the public. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hear, hear.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much, Larry.
Thank you.
But he ended his last meeting saying to Chuck, "It's going to be a fiasco," which is not in his power, because we are inheriting what we're inheriting. This is the world, and we're going to adjust, and we're going to make plans, and we're going to make it through. But it's a lot of work. I'm watching the administration work. The regular work is tough during the season. From September to June. It's busy. Not that the summer isn't, but it's it's showtime when the year is going, and now it's compounded. So thank you, Larry. Thank you, Chuck, for taking the reins. Thank you, Gino, for changing and stepping up. To our building administrators, to Sandy, to Mike, our technology guys, Tammy, Tracy, Dan, Hamisi. I feel like I'm in the Oscars, but I'll make sure I say Shannon, Jerry, Colleen. Colleen's like waving. Do not forget about me. Come on. I wouldn't forget about you. But no, it's been a lot. I mean, we're watching it. Their communications are. It's just a lot of information, a lot of work, given where we are, and you will be missed, Larry, and we have all the confidence in the world in Chuck. But thank you guys. You're doing a lot of. This has been it's been an extraordinary year, and there's a lot to do. And no one is looking for a finish line. Everyone's planning for for what to do over the summer to prepare for September, and how we can have meetings with the community about what's going on with race and equity. And everything's firing on every cylinder, and we're working. And when I say we, I mean you. The board is here and we're supportive, but we're watching you work. So thank you. And Larry, last meeting, so bravo. We really got a lot of value from you. So thank you. That was enough for me. I'm not brief, but if anyone else has something to say, we're still open to items for future consideration.
I just want to throw one thing out, because I think that we have a very difficult road ahead of us. And I think one thing that we can be certain of is there is no possible way with whatever the solution is going to be, or whatever bag of solutions that we come up with. There's no way that all parents in town could possibly be happy with what the solution will be. And I think we should probably say that in advance, because I think for every parent who absolutely wants plan A to go through, there's another parent that will be advocating for B and C, and it's going to be tough. And I know that there are people that are going to work very hard over the summer and give it their all. But there's no playbook for this, and it's going to be difficult.
Very, very, very important that you said that, Linda.
It will easily be
second that, Linda.
What did you say, Chuck?
It will easily be the most scrutinized thing we do, with everything second guessed and every decision made. It'll be looked at. You think about the balance sale decision, how that was scrutinized. That's nothing compared to what every decision we looked at. One of the things I do want to discuss with the steering committee, and I'll send an email to explain my rationale, but about videotaping those, or taping, since we're recording those meetings, so public has access to our thought process as we go through, so they can see through transparency how we got to Plan D, right? I don't know we need the court action team meetings, but the steering committee will serve as a funnel to bring all that together. It might be beneficial that we have those recorded so we can publish those, so the public can see the thought process behind where we're going and why we're getting there.
Yeah, Linda, I'm sorry. You are spot on, and I do appreciate it, because you actually heard it tonight. We had a very nice parent call in asking a question that we have been losing sleep about. What if our parents don't send their children, or how many? Not what if. It's not what, it's how many. And then in the same day, Chuck and I received emails and possibly multiple emails from a group of people in the district, very nicely telling Chuck and I that we need to do more to advocate to go back to school, to get these kids back. And we get that. I mean, parents are stuck. So you just watched it tonight, where you had a parent call and say, what if I don't send my child? And she's not the only one, I can tell you, versus others who are saying, not only are we sending my child, but I want you to have full-blown school. And we know already in most states, full-blown school is impossible if we've got to draw a 6-foot ring in a classroom and station a desk within the middle of that ring. We can only fit 10 of those 8, 9, 10 of those rings in a classroom. Well, that's not 20 students or 18 or 25. So we know right now that the parameters aren't going to be normal school. So what is it going to be like? And Chuck's right. We are not going to, I don't care how many people we have on a committee, we're not going to please everyone in the community. And again, I go back to the fiasco comment. You know, if Haddon Township and Haddon Heights and Collingswood and everybody does something different, it's going to make it harder on everybody, because a parent's going to pick and choose. Oh, I like what they're doing over there, but I don't like what you're doing over here. Just tough sledding.
Hey, Larry, I think you mentioned this, but to just piggyback on what Linda was saying, I just want to for me, I love the way she worded it, because it's important to look through the perspective of what I heard when Linda said that is that we need to manage the public's expectations. So I'm not looking at it like, oh, we're going to be scrutinized as a board, which perhaps we will, but more importantly, managing public expectations so that everybody understands that, obviously the public is very diverse in their opinions, as far as whether, some people want to open, some people don't want to open. And it's just managing their expectations. And something that Chuck said at the beginning of the meeting is that the state is encouraging flexibility. So we are I'm assuming, because I am eager to hear the details, but that, we're going to have options for families as best we can in order to accommodate what their individual needs might be.
Yeah, very well said. Very well said.
All right, and I did forget one administrator. I think only one. Val, our Tatum Tiger captain. Sorry, but yeah, no.
No, you didn't. Tim McFerrin. If anybody gets to go on Twitter and follow HSD Building and Grounds, you'll see not just the makings, but almost the completion of the Bulldog in pavers and the whole paver project down at the high school, as well as all the landscaping at all of the schools. The pristine, when fields aren't used, they're getting the rest they've so sorely needed for a very long time. Grass growing in places that have never grown before. It's fantastic. A coat of paint on just about everything. So please don't forget about the fact that this district made hay while the sun was shining. And although people couldn't be in the buildings en masse for their primary use, they sure made a lot of progress in the maintenance of them.
Yeah, definitely, Tim. If I didn't mention, thank you. All right. Thanks, guys. Anything else? Can we
just quickly? July 16th is the board retreat, so we'll start planning for that. We'll get in touch with you about that stuff. It's going to be important. The board retreat is not a reopening meeting. We'll have a separate group for that. We have to still look at the vision for the future, where we want to go, and some of those changes, upstream changes, Larry called it, we'll be looking at in the next coming year.
Great. Thanks, Chuck. This is our oh geez.
That looks great.
Yeah, sorry. That's our Lynn Rouse, I believe, is helping to coordinate that project with the HEA or the Haddonfield Educational Trust. Shout out to Haddonfield Educational Trust, the Beautification Committee, Maureen Isles, all those people are doing. A lot of people working. It took a really long time to get those motions, but if I look for a motion to close, and we're going to get this quickly, or is it going to be like 30 seconds to get
Motion, Linda.
any motions?
Second, Jamie.
Jamie seconds it. Thanks all for being here. Meeting's adjourned, but it's been fun.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you so much, Larry.
Thanks, Larry.
Take care, guys. Good luck.
Everyone's running with you, Larry.
Thanks, Larry. Take very good care. Go Phillies, not the Mets.
Touche.